Actually, it's a red light, Maria.
Hi, everyone. I am Maria Guadalupe Lopez, one of the facilitators of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. I am sharing the speaker portion of our Connections Over Coffee gathering. The founder of this community and magazine, Ginny Robertson, is speaking on Get Out of Your Own Way. Ginny Robertson connects women around the world to their gifts, their purpose, and each other. She supports women, whatever they are in life, with opportunities for deep connection, more visibility, and to become more comfortable with playing a bigger role on the planet. Everything she does is about shining a light and supporting women in using their voices to be seen and heard in greater ways, so they share their gifts and make their unique difference. She founded the On Purpose Woman Global Community in 2000 and the On Purpose Woman magazine in 2003. Here is with us, Ginny Robertson.
Thank you, Maria. This is absolutely my favorite topic to talk about, Get Out of Your Own Way. It was the title of the very first talk I ever did, and I have upgraded it, I have added, I have learned a lot myself along the way. So I'm really happy to be talking about this today. And I want to tell anyone who's watching us live or on the replay that you're getting a taste of a workshop I'm offering on September 16th and 17th. It's actually the same workshop. You have a choice of which day to take it. All that information, the link is in the description, the video description. So check that out and see if it speaks to you. So why this title, Get Out of Your Own Way? Because I believe that you and only you can keep you from having the life that you say that you want. Do you see the common denominator there? And if that's true, then you are also the only one who can change it. And that's about as basic as it gets, isn't it? So in other words, you are the only one who can get you out of your way. Other people might want to try, or they might give you lots of advice and lots of ways to do it, but you have to make that decision. You have to come to a realization that something is stopping you from starting something that you say is important, from finishing, from even letting go of something that you know would be good for you. So I'm sharing one of the ways that you may be getting in your way and some things that you can do about it. But first, earlier in the meeting, I asked those here with me on Zoom to come up with something that you've been telling yourself that you wanted to start or finish or let go of or create. And if you had any insight into why you haven't done that yet. And some great ideas came out, and they talked about, the women here talked a lot about wanting accountability and about the intention, setting an intention. So you all are ahead of the game when you're using those kind of words, setting intention and making it happen through that. One woman here, wants to write this book, and she just hasn't had the time to do it yet. And I'm going to actually address those issues of time, money, and energy while we're here today. And so I think that it's kind of this idea that, if I want it, and if I want it enough, and I can visualize it, and I can pray on it, and I can do all these things, that it should happen, right? Well, all those things are very valuable things to do, but then we have to take action, because the action is the only thing. We're the only ones who can do that. So we can, we can want it, we can do mantras, we can visualize, we can do all of that, but then we have to start taking some steps to make it happen. That's the practical piece of all of this. So here we go. If you're with me here on Zoom, raise your hand if you felt any of these things recently. Stuck, fearful, indecisive, guilty, angry, or worried. Yeah, a lot. So thank you for playing that with me, y'all. If so, some of these emotions are coming from things that we may have made up. Doesn't mean that the facts are not there, that, oh, I've got some facts here. When the facts are there, you know it, right? Gee, I just got this call from the doctor and they said this. That's a fact. and then you decide what you're going to do with that fact. But have you ever had something like this happen? You call a friend and leave a voicemail message, and a week later, they still have not called you back. Has anybody ever started making up stories about maybe why they haven't called you back? Things like, wow, I wonder, did I do something? And you go through this index file in your head, seeing if you could have offended them. Did you do something wrong? And you know, the only thing I know for sure in that moment is I left a voicemail message. That's the fact. The rest of it is all conjuring up stuff, right? I left a voicemail message. I don't know if she got it. She might have gotten it and she's been super busy. There could be all kinds of reasons. Rather than sit there and make up stories, if it's important to me, pick up the phone and call again, or text, or do something and say, just checking in. But sometimes I think we're afraid to get that answer. Maybe she is angry with me, right? Well, would that be a good thing to know as well? So it's just, I know I'm a great scenario builder. It's something I've worked on for decades now, of just noticing when I start to go down that rabbit hole of making up things. It can become an easy fallback position. It's easier sometimes to make up the story than to deal with what the reality might be, right? Or to actually be proactive with it. So it can be so unconscious that you might start to get that yucky feeling in your gut, wherever you start to have those feelings, and you find your energy getting low and you don't even know why. It's an automatic response that your body is doing, but your mind hasn't even caught up with it yet. Does that make sense? Give me this every once in a while if it makes sense, okay? So since we are making up some of these things, you know, if you look at your life and it isn't going quite the way you had planned, it may be going the way that you expected, because our mind is powerful. It is powerful. And so when we set up these expectations of, I'll never have enough time to do that. I'll never have enough money to do that. I'm just broke. I'm just, you know, it's never going to work. The world is a dangerous place, and all of those things. I believe that that will be your reality, at least to some extent. These thoughts are largely the result of your perception about life, your point of view, which I like to use the word point, or the phrase point of view, because we all have a point of view, don't we? About a lot of things. Raise your hand if you have a strong point of view on something, right? Well, I have a strong point of view on turnips. I don't like them. I was forced to eat them once as a child and gagged and almost threw up. And so I have never had a turnip since. Now, it's possible I could eat one today and love it. I don't care. I'm not that invested in turnips. You may love turnips, and if you do, that's fine. This is not important enough to me to try to change your mind about it. But think about some of the other points of view that we have that get in our way, especially the point of view that we have. And it may not be something we wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and say, yeah, this is what I think about myself. But this point of view that, you know, who you really are in the world, what you deserve, what you're capable of, how you fit into the grand scheme of it all. You know, if we're having those kind of doubts unconsciously, you know, I'm sure you all know about the conscious and the unconscious. The unconscious rules the show. It runs the show. It's a big piece up here. The conscious is a little piece. I always say the unconscious is where I store algebra. If I ever need it, I can pull it out maybe. It's where I store driving. It's where I store knowing what to do in certain situations. The conscious mind is what I'm doing right now. I'm consciously speaking to you, but mostly everything else we do is pretty unconscious unless we're consciously paying attention. So if you have a really strong point of view on something that does not support your view of the world, your view of yourself, the true you, where you want to go with your life, what you want to create, this thing that you came up with that you say you want to do, it is getting in your way, because you have to be in sync with that. What you believe about it, your actions have to be in sync. So you can begin to get out of your way by examining your points of view in the areas where you feel stuck to see, are they true or not? And if they are in alignment with what you say that you want. If they're not in alignment, I think you'll recognize that, because you have to just sit and ask these questions. Okay, somebody here said she wanted to write a book. And I said, well, apparently it hasn't been that important enough yet. And that's not a criticism. It's just, doesn't it feel better to know that than to keep beating yourself up for not starting it? Or maybe you get to decide, I think it's important. I think now's the time. Here's my first step. Once we know the why of something, the step is easier. The first step can be such a simple step, but it gets us into action. She may not write a paragraph, that first step. That first step may be getting ready. Here's some ideas I have. Let me jot them down. That first step may be committing to doing something with this book for 15 minutes a day. Even if it's not writing, thinking about it, dreaming about it, putting into place, figuring out what you want your cover to look like. All those things work with us when we're on the same path with our thoughts. So raise your hand if you buy into these ideas. Your thinking can create your reality. That you get what you expect. That what you resist persists. That what you put your attention on expands. So if those statements are true, would it be helpful to know what you're thinking, what you're expecting, what you're resisting, and what has your attention? Because then you can begin to look at it in a different way. I believe in this idea of, well, we just have to change our mind, but I get a little annoyed sometimes when people say it in such a simplistic way. Well, just change your mind about that, and just change your mind. And yeah, we can change our mind, but we have to know what we want to change our mind to. And we have to practice, and we have to fall down, and we have to get back up, and we have to make some missteps, and we have to move forward. The old cha-cha, 1 step forward, 2 steps backward, And so don't beat yourself up for just not making that change like this. It's a process. It's a path. It's 1 step at a time. There's a story that I've been telling for years that I don't know if it's a true story or not, but I think it illustrates this point really well. And some of you may have heard it. It's a story about a young couple who got married, and she is cooking their first meal as a married couple. She's making a meatloaf. And I'm sorry, that's not true. She's making a roast. And her husband walks into the kitchen, and she has cut off about that much of the end of the roast. And he questioned, why are you cutting that off and throwing it away? And she goes, I don't know. That's how my mother did it. And so the next time she talked to her mother, she goes, Mom, why did you always cut off the end of the roast when you were cooking it? And she goes, well, that's how my mother did it. And when they asked the grandmother, why did you always cut off the end of the roast before you cooked it? She said, because that's the only way it would fit into the size pan that I had. And so I love that story because 2 other generations of women have just taken that on unconsciously. This is the truth about how to cook a roast, never questioned it. Now, that probably didn't impact their lives in negative ways, right? Maybe they wasted a little bit of food. But think about the things that we've taken as truth that can impact our lives, that we never question, or that were true for us when we were 25 and are no longer true. We've grown, we've shifted, or things that we took on as truth because other people told us who we were and how we fit in or didn't fit in. Just all that other information. If we're still holding on to some of that, it's time to start to release it and to find out what do I know for sure, as Oprah says. What do I know for sure about who I am? Because nobody knows for sure who you are but you. Nobody knows for sure what you want but you. And you may not even know for sure all the time, right? But at your deepest level, you know. So there are some points of view that you might be holding on to unconsciously that stop you from taking that risk, from being seen, from stepping out, from starting that book, from starting that big project that is a lot of work that could make you a lot of money and help a lot of people. It's something that you would love to do. There could be some unconscious stuff that you're still holding on to around fear of failure even. But, I do buy into that idea that more people fear success than fear failure. because we know what failure feels like and we live through it. We don't always know what great success looks like. So we wonder, can I sustain it? Can I get through it? Are people going to still like me? All that stuff can show up. So are these truths possibly keeping you from sharing your greatest gifts with the planet? And are they getting in your way of being your highest and best self? There's some good news and some not as good news about this whole thing. The not so good news is therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists say that these ideas about, especially about who we are and our place in the world, are firmly in place by the time we're 6 years old. And they have been influenced by the people around us, how we've been treated, whether we think we're in a safe world or not, whether we think we're loved or not. And so here we are as grownups all bumping into each other with some of this little kid stuff still running the show. But the good news is we can shift that when we start to look at it and want to. We can start to examine and go, wow, I did believe that, and that's not true anymore. I've done work on that. And you may know consciously that it's not true, but your unconscious is still kind of doing that automatic thing. I think it was Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite authors and speakers, who said, it's like the wake is driving the boat rather than the boat causing the wake. And, or somebody else, you're not in the driver's seat of your life. So that's the good news and the not so good news. But I think what brings, well, let me just say this. Words matter. So the way you talk to yourself, the way you ask for what you want, even just something as simple as, oh God, I can't believe I did that again. I am so stupid. That is an affirmation, just like I am brilliant is an affirmation, right? It may seem like a silly thing that, well, but I don't really mean it, but your mind doesn't know that you don't mean it. And your mind hears stupid, and your mind hears the energy or feels the energy. So just notice when you're starting to say these things about yourself to yourself and see if you can start to shift that a bit. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters how long your point of view has been there. You can make it conscious and you can begin to shift it. But it requires paying attention, especially when you're stuck, unfulfilled, uninspired. Take a little quiet time, check in, ask yourself, wonder what's going on here. Be curious, do some journaling, see what you come up with. I'm so shocked sometimes by things that pop up for me. I mean, I started to cry the other day over something. And I was like, what is that about? And then I decided I don't need to know really what it's about. I just need to sit with it. And sometimes when we sit with it, it'll come. You can't force the why of this. You can't force your wonder what's driving that. But I think if we get quiet and we give an opportunity, it will come. But words do matter. They're very important. So along those lines, I'm going to read a few statements. I want you to repeat each one silently to yourself and notice how you feel. Notice your energy level, or if you have another type of reaction. I don't have enough money. I'm broke. I can't afford it. I can't do that because I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I never have enough energy for the things I want to do. Okay. Raise your hand if you felt uplifted by any of those. Right? So do this, shake it all out. Don't let it stay there. Think good thoughts about yourself. But just know that the point of view that you don't have enough time, that you don't have enough money, you don't have enough energy may be getting in your way of having those things that you say that you want. It may also be an automatic answer to play so that you can play it safe. Somebody offers you an opportunity and you kind of go, ooh, I might want to look at that. God, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I could do that podcast on my own. So maybe I'm going to say, well, I don't think I just don't have enough time. I can't add anything else to my plate. If something is truly important to you, once your basic needs are met and you're really kind of thriving out there in the world and you don't have to worry about feeding your family or paying your rent, you can decide what's important to you. And you can make those decisions based on who you are and what you want to do. I had two, well, let's see. Okay, I'm going to play with this idea. I want you to play with me a little bit with this idea of time, money, and energy, because I think those excuses are three of the biggest dream stealers we can have. So let's say I have two more one-on-one meetings. I had a Zoom meeting this morning. I had before my 10:30 meeting. I have two other Zoom meetings this afternoon. But I'm really feeling like I'm tired and I'm going to take a nap. So I'm going to reach out to these. I know these women, it's one-on-ones. They'll reschedule. They'll be fine. Heck, they're probably tired too. They probably need a break, right? That's what I tell myself. So I'm going to reschedule. And they are fine. And one of them actually says to me, I understand. I can use the break too. Thank you, Ginny. So I'm settling down from my nap and the phone rings. And I answer the phone and a man asks, is this Ginny Robertson? And I'm like, it is. And he said, Ginny, this is Mick Jagger. Now you have to decide who's on your phone call. Today it's Mick. It's been when he was around, it was David Bowie. It's been Oprah. It's whoever I'm feeling, but Mick Jagger's calling me. And he goes, I hear you're a big fan. I have a layover at BWI Airport. And if I send a car for you, will you come and have dinner with me? Now, am I going to go, oh gosh, Mick, in any other time, but you see, I've had this really busy week and I've got all these appointments this afternoon and I'm just too tired. Can I take a rain check? Am I going to say that, ladies? I am not. Now, what changed? I didn't get a nap. What changed? My priorities changed. I'm now excited about something that I wasn't so excited about before. Now, granted, this is also a once in a lifetime opportunity. I am not saying don't rest when you need to rest. Don't hear me saying that, because sometimes we just have to make those decisions, but make sure that you're tired for real when you use that as an excuse, and don't apologize for it. I need to rest. You don't even have to say I'm tired. I need to rest, because I think that's a more powerful statement than I'm tired, right? I want to rest. I want to rest is even better than I need to rest. So going back to those statements, well, I want you to go back and I want you to think about the next time you hear yourself thinking, I don't want to do that. I'm so tired, or I don't have enough energy. Think about, what would I do if Mick Jagger called, or who's your person? Put in the chat who your person is. What would you do if they called? Would you examine whether you're really tired or not? Or would you just automatically say, nah, sorry, can't do it? Probably not, right? You'd probably examine it and go, I think I'm going to do this. But just something to notice, that you're not going into one of those perception-based, point of view-based fallback positions. Let's talk about money. Now, money is money. There's facts around money, right? But as soon as you say, I can't afford it, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, the door slams shut, and you do not get creative about how you can create more time, money, and energy. For example, you can look at your bank account and there is a certain amount in there. Those are facts, right? You're not going to just go spend money because, the universe said you can have it later. You're going to be practical about the money that you have. So instead of saying I can't afford it, or I'm too broke, and then lamenting, oh, I wish I could, because that energy is not attractive, is it? Oh, I really wish I could afford it, but I can't because I had to do this and I had to pay for that. What if instead you said, from a really grown-up place and a powerful place, I have this much money available and I need to pay my rent with that, but I really want to do this other thing. So I'm going to figure out some ways I can start to either save the money or replace something else that I was going to do with this. I'll have a strategy for it. And if I really want to do it, it maybe take me 6 months. I don't know. But if you don't do that, you will never have it, because that excuse is such a juicy one. And it works with everybody. Everybody accepts those excuses. Somebody tells me I can't afford it, I believe them. I don't have it. I believe them. I'm going to try to talk them out of that. And we shouldn't, it's for us to figure out on our own. So that makes sense to you all? Can you think of ways that you've actually used these excuses? Maybe just as an autopilot, as an automatic response. Sometimes we use it as a lie to get out of doing things because we don't want to be honest with somebody about why we don't want to. and you have to decide if that works for you or not, but that can become heavy. And then you have to remember the lie that you told. And there may be one of those little white lies. You have to remember, oh, what did I tell her? Or did I tell her I was sick? Did I tell her I don't remember? How are you? How are you feeling now, Jenny? And I would, oh gosh, what did I say? You know? So I think most people if they're in our lives and they can't accept us telling them the truth about why we can't do something or don't want to do something, then maybe they don't belong there and as deep as we have them. And that's something that we have to look at and decide. But when we look at the facts, we look at the facts of how much time do I have? How much money do I have? I do have limited energy, right? I only have 24 hours in a day until somebody comes up with a way for me to use it differently. I believe there might be some alternative things to that, but in reality, right here, right now, we've got finite time, we've got finite money and finite energy in this second, right? That can shift at any time, but we can be conscious about how we're spending it. Oh my goodness, it's 3 minutes till. So many years ago, I did a full day workshop called Take Time for Yourself, Take Care of Your Life. And there was a woman there, I didn't know her, there were about 40 women there. And she'd been pushing back at me all day. She was questioning me. She was trying to be the expert on everything. And she was just I was trying to stay in love and just, be there. And I was talking about how everybody can take 5 minutes out of your day for self-care, 5 minutes to go sit quietly, 5 minutes to breathe. And she goes, well, I'm sorry, I can't find 5 minutes. And I said, and I was about, I said, well, I'm sorry, but I don't buy that. And I said, do you watch television? And she goes, well, yeah. And I said, well, how much TV do you watch? She goes, well, probably, a couple of sitcoms every night. And I said, I'm not judging TV. Watch TV if you want, but could you swap out 5 minutes of TV for five? It's a choice that you make. It's not about what's right and what's wrong. It's don't emphatically say, I don't have time, when you know that you're spending it in a different way. And if that way you're spending it is important and is more important than what you say you don't have time to do, keep doing that. This isn't about judging how you're spending your time. It's about being honest with ourselves about how we're spending our time. You get to be creative and you get to choose from a place of conscious power, and you get to choose how you spend your time, money, and energy rather than being an unconscious victim of all three of those things. And I'm going to wrap this up now. And I thank you all for listening to this. And Maria, you can come back and wrap this up for me. Thank you.
Well, I think in behalf of everybody, I want to say thank you for this beautiful chat. It was really amazing. I want to say thank you for validating for us that it is okay to dream and to have goals, because we all do it, and that we just have things in our way that keep us away from doing it. Thank you for helping us see that we can all achieve them, and for being here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Whoops, okay. Hang on.